Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a quintessential entrepreneur from Pune, India, Anup Savale. Anup, welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me here, Ashutosh.
Anup is the founder of Kahihi Ventures. Previously, he's been the co-founder of Padhio, an initiative known as the 60-second education revolution. So, Anup, before we start talking of Kahihi, tell me about your own journey in brief and what was the inspiration to co-found Padhio?
Lovely. Okay. So let's start with my academic qualifications itself. I have double masters. One of my masters is in game theory, and the second one is an MBA. Post my MBA, I got an international placement from Tata Elxsi. It's a company of Tata Group. I used to look after their medtech devices business in Europe, and then moved on to manage the Nordic region for all their services. Post that, I moved to Middle East. I used to work with a gym and rehab equipment company, and then I worked briefly with a VC in Ottawa. Uh, Post that, I came back to India. At that moment, I used to consult companies ranging from seed to Series A level around gamification, product, business development, and all. As a hobby around education, we used to teach kids and students across like till K-12 about all the different uh, soft skills, thinking skills, emotional skills, social skills, and we used to do it as pro bono. While doing that, actually, the idea of Padhio came into place. Padhio in nutshell, as you rightly mentioned, it's like the 60-second edu revolution. 30,000 feet eye view, it would look like Instagram Reels for education. But the essence was, it basically stemmed from our own journeys while we studied from like the premier institutes. And we had the best of the best faculties to teach us. Yet, just before the exams, people would barge into our rooms and say, please, can you explain this concept in 2 minutes? That happened because of the pedagogical tools are different. The way people explain it is different. Vernacularity is an important aspect. So we thought, why not take this to the masses? And that's why Padhio came into existence.
Amazing, amazing. The other word that fascinated me when I was reading about you was, what does playfulness mean to you? And how do you integrate it into your personal and professional life?
Oh, playfulness is very close to my heart. I write aphorisms, which are like the small sutras. I'm working on my own nonfiction book. So, playfulness stemmed from one of the aphorisms. And the aphorism goes like this: that playfulness drives you from survival to living. So, playfulness is not anything called as frivolous. Playfulness is not being mischievous. It's about using the childlike curiosity and the attitude of taking things slightly in a lighter format in the serious situations. So that's what playfulness stands to me. There are multiple examples. I mean, I always cite one classic example to explain what playfulness is. And I ask a question to almost every viewer or the reader is, how many of you kind of played a game in the childhood where you used to walk with your parents holding their hands, but on the footpath, the idea would be to not cross a line which is marked by those tiles.
Yeah.
So, and almost like 99.9% people say, yes, we have played that game. And then I ask, how many of you continue to do it today? And surprisingly, a lot many people don't do it. And the classic reason behind it is, at that time, small feet, you have been taken to a destination which is not exactly your choice. You would have loved to play in a playground.
Yeah.
But you wanted to make that journey along with your parents more memorable, more slightly short and entertaining for you. Hence, you made a game out of that walking exercise. Similarly, a lot many tasks which we do in our day-to-day lives, be it in office, be it in our relationships, uh, things go a bit on the serious end.
Hmm.
And if you can add that tinge of playfulness in it, that will help you maneuver and say that you're not just surviving in your life, you're just thriving and living your life to the fullest.
What a great response. And I love the example. As you were talking, I'm much older, but I could remember doing this exactly the same thing that you were telling me. Yeah. Anup, how has your own background in behavioral science and game theory shaped your approach to decision making and innovation?
Uh, so I used to say that I did my undergrads in applied mathematics and I'm being very rational.
Yeah.
But then we did a project called as Unbounding Rationality in an institute called as National Institute for Advanced Studies, NIAS. That's in Bangalore. And that basically opened my eyes that I mean, there are too many theories available in the behavioral sciences that says that it's very hard for us to be purely rational.
Mm.
You could put it other way that when people say, "Hey, that person is being irrational," it's irrational from your perspective. Probably that person has given it a thought, and for his weightages and his ideologies, is probably the right or the rational decision.
Mm.
Uh, so when it comes to game theory, what it does, uh, honestly, is it takes a complex problem, convert it into a toy problem, and then you define these strategies
Yeah.
on that, and then you extrapolate it back to the main problem.
Mm.
Uh, that basically has helped me in my daily life. In fact, in my corporate career also. The idea is very simple there. Whenever you're stuck with a problem which looks like unsolvable, you try to just break it down into a very simple 2 cross 2, 3 cross 3 metrics. Just give yourself 2 or 3 strategies to work around with and say,
Mm.
what if this happens? Or what do you do if this happens? And
Yeah.
just make it a game out of it and come towards a solution. Life
Yes.
is not that all
Yeah.
complex.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Anup, let's now talk about Kahihi Ventures.
Sure.
Your first company, Padhio, I could understand it's exactly what it means, says what it means, the word. What does Kahihi mean? And your ventures aim to challenge norms and inspire new ways of thinking. Tell me a little bit more about Kahihi and the philosophy behind it.
Sure. So Kahi is a Marathi word. It basically translates to anything and everything.
Okay.
It depends upon the tonality of people, how they say it. It
Hmm.
could be literally translated to kuch bhi in Hindi and anything and everything in English.
Okay.
So when we say Kahihi Ventures, the idea here is that it's a venture studio where we are trying to support ideas that are radical enough
Hmm.
and areas where we could support and bring them to a stage where they can affect and like impact a lot millions of people.
Hmm.
uh, so that's what Kahihi means. It
Okay.
actually started where I used to consult to companies, and I used to call myself the unit as Kahihi Consulting initially,
Hmm. Hmm.
because I could span from like product to design to marketing and sales gen man everything.
Hmm.
And now with Kahihi Ventures, the idea is to empower companies like that.
Very interesting. And how do you evaluate whether an idea is Kahihi worthy? What kind of filter do you put on your lenses?
That's a hard question to answer. For us, basically, anything which makes us feel, I mean, that this is there are two things. We look for the founder. If the founder is also has a tinge of playfulness in them,
Hmm.
and we see that we are trying to solve a common known problem in a much different way. There is inherently education involved. There is slightly breaking the mold involved in it. We kind of give preference to it. From a business lens, we don't work on companies which are money guzzlers, uh, because it's a small venture studio and the idea is to support companies as far as we can.
Hmm.
Hence the focus is more towards ideas which can be bootstrappable in the long run.
Hmm. So, would you say that it's like an incubator for projects in the gaming space, or are you, open to take on projects in any space?
So, incubator basically in India has been providing space
Hmm.
and then a bit of mentorship.
Mm.
And they kind of enroll like 10, 15 companies in one cohort or so,
Mm.
even more than that. Venture Studio is more of a slightly different version of it. Its roots derive in Silicon Valley. The idea here is that you engage with only one or two companies in a year, and you work very closely with them. Your team kind of like shadows or takes care of everything
Mm.
available there.
Mm.
Sometimes the founder has one set of skills which they're very good at, and the other things need to be taken care of, and they're not having a team to
Mm.
do that. Uh, that all kind of gets clubbed through Kahihi Ventures.
And again, when I was reading about you,
Yeah.
what is Risito and how is it reimagining the dating experience through gamification?
So Risito is one of the ventures in Kahihi Venture Studio.
Mm.
Basically, Risito's again, I'll highlight that specific problem of uh, how you need to think out of the box. When we first looked at dating industry, we really thought, hey, it's a dead industry. People are talking about that CAGR wise, it's at 0%. It's not going to grow, and there are so many studies around it. People are telling that the Gen Zs are leaving the dating space, online dating space. They're moving to more real life events, uh, and they are also finding dates on Instagram and Reddits and all the other social medias of the world. When we delve deeper into the problem, we realize it's more about, people are tired of those shallow matchings, which is available on a lot of dating apps, which is seeing a photo and just judging that this is how the life partner would look like, or they start dating based upon it, or a small bio which does not ideally cater to the personality of the person. Hence, what we are trying to do at Risito is we are developing a multiple games. Games are nothing but I would say it's a gamified dating platform.
Mhm.
It allows people to date based upon their uh, style of choosing a partner.
Mm.
There are people who love compatibility. I'm a T person, the other person is a T person. I have a Rottweiler, the other person has a Rottweiler, and they want to just go for a walk together in a specific area. So that compatibility, people are kind of looking for that compatibility match, and
Mm.
hence the questions would be like that, this or
Mm.
that, and they choose it.
Fascinating, fascinating. Anup, my next question is how do games influence better human connections, especially in something as emotionally charged as dating?
So it's a brilliant question, actually. Gamification is just one tool to reduce the barrier.
Mm.
Uh, People kind of take a lot of things a bit more seriously. Gamification kind of allows you to put your analytical brain slightly away and instinctively play, uh, and make it slightly non-serious.
Mm.
That helps in a human life situations. Basically, in behavioral situations, what really happens is, uh, it's very difficult to do sales calls and a lot of those things in corporate settings. But if you just make a competition where there's a leaderboard and the person gets badges, and at the end of it, so slightly more targets get achieved,
Yeah.
people are like less serious about it.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
that's how, I mean, the human behavior
I,
kind of gets.
I agree. I agree. And how do you ensure psychological safety and respect while designing gamified romantic interactions?
Oh, so at Risito, we are very clear that the intention is not, so the safety takes the preference over everything
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
Uh, Hence, the idea is to not have anonymous profiles available there. They are going to get verified. Post verification, only these gamification strategies comes into existence.
Okay.
There are verification which is as rigid as, there's a face verification, there is an identity proof verification. At
Mm.
some places, we are even thinking of doing an Aadhaar linkage to
Mm.
it to be even more
Sure.
sure that the all those bad effects don't come into the gamification layer altogether, or even in the platform in the whole.
Well said. I think that is very critical. Anup, I was also reading about, you know, a stealth mode social media platform. And without giving away too much, what is the problem you're trying to solve here?
This is a problem close to my heart. I this might not eventually be a part of the venture studio. It would be a separate company. I would love to lead it and see it impacts millions, billions of people. The problem here, what we are trying to address is that there is too much negativity on the social media platforms. I was in Masuri last year, and I came across a bunch of people, very young kids, 18, 19-year-olds, and got addicted. And I just put on my Freudian hat to understand, is there a problem in their childhood or some other places? But I mean, the real problem was social media. They got like uh, it was very difficult for them to come out of the negativity which got stemmed through
Yeah.
trolling and a lot of other bad factors which are introduced in the social media. So the idea here is to create a positive social media app where no negativity kind of entails. No, we don't tolerate any sort of negativity there. It's only positive messages which you can send from one person to another. And the idea here is to help you on two ends. The positivity comes from outward, which is from the environment, and also comes from inward. So how do you develop positivity inside a person, as well as how do you help a person communicate or give out the positivity to other people, is what we are trying to do in the social media.
I understand, but are you going to say that technology is going to determine what is positive?
No. So the idea here is technology to a certain extent, but there has to be a very large human factor involved in it. Initially, we are experimenting, and it's a very closed loop system which we are trying to check if this thing works out. And the idea here is that we are working with a known universe of content.
Yeah.
It's like defined by us. You only get to communicate in this content pieces. There's gratitude, there's motivation, there's inspiration, there is daily dosage. If you want to talk about wellness for a person like your siblings or your parents or your kids, whatever it is, you have those set content pieces available on the platform. You only communicate based upon it. And and if people do not have any content piece which for them to motivate, they can just click on a boost me feature where a random person would be sending you a kindness message across from the universe.
Fascinating. We have time for a few more questions. How do you measure impact when it comes to soft skills like empathy, decision making, or collaboration?
It's a difficult thing to see quantification in these skills. My understanding has been around games. Uh, Games that can help you learn and develop soft skills. Those are the elements where you can actually quantify also that is there an improvement, is there some sort of learning, or is there a bottleneck in a person's understanding about these skills. uh, we had play tested a bunch of games. There's a game which we created called as Self Who, where the idea is that a random question is posed to the audience, and so bunch of people are sitting in a circle. 4 or 5 players could be there. The first question would be that you are going to your college building, college or workspace or any place like that, and you see a life-size poster of yours. And what does that make you feel? And people have to answer it. People have to guess the main person who is reading the question, his or her response to it. We did this exercise with a kid and his parent, and it was an amazing insight for us, because the parent was a typical type A personality, said that, oh, I mean, I will feel proud about it, and my kid is gonna feel very proud about it. And the kid says, I feel embarrassed seeing that space. That allows both of them, parent and the kid, to have a dialogue about it. Also, when people kind of do this on a regular basis, people can understand that, hey, are we able to understand other people's emotions? So is the empathy score at what level for that specific person? Then that's how the quantification works. Yeah.
What an amazing response. Thank you. Anup, 2 more questions. In your view, what are some of the most essential life skills for the future, and how can we teach these playfully?
um, I would say life skills, I can divide it into 3 buckets. There are thinking skills, social skills, and emotional skills.
Mm.
When we say thinking skills, there are lower order thinking skills and higher order thinking skills. Lower order is nothing but fluency,
Mm.
frequency, working memory, all of those.
Mm.
Higher orders are creativity, critical thinking. Combining this is where the problem solving comes into place. That how do you solve
Yeah.
problems? Emotionally, your internal and externals.
Mm.
So internally, it's all about self awareness. External is about empathy.
Mm.
uh, and then there are social skills where there's communication, there's collaboration, there's leadership.
Mm.
I say there are certain characteristic skills which kind of encapsulate all of these.
Mm.
uh, the basic one is tenacity or perseverance or grit,
Right.
and the most important one at the end of it is acceptance. uh,
Mm.
People should be able to accept before even the result comes out. It's not about acceptance when a failure comes, but acceptance when you have already given the examination and the result is going to come.
Right.
Why to worry during that time?
Right.
You have to accept that whatever you have done is done.
Correct. Correct. Very well said. And wise words indeed. And my last question for you, Anup. You're developing so many games with so many young people. Can you tell me, from your perspective, one game or activity that you believe has had a transformative effect on some of the participants?
um, I think Selfu is very important game, which we had tested. There was another game called as Trust Maze,
Mm.
which we had created. The idea here is that it's a cooperative game, non-verbal. You don't speak to each other,
Mm.
and you play the game. It's more about understanding the other person, how they're playing in a 10 by 10 grid, and you both are trying to reach to goals which have been defined to each one of you, but both of you don't know what the other person's goals is. It's This has worked very well in corporate settings.
Mm.
Selfu has worked very well with parents and kids,
Mm.
and it's important to see that how people say that, hey, I know how you feel, without even actually understanding how you feel. How you feel generally happens with how I would feel in that situation,
Mm.
and that needs to change slightly.
Wow. And on that note, Anup, I just want to say what an incredible conversation this has been for me, and I'm sure for my viewers and listeners. Uh, while we are, at least from my age perspective, I know gamification is important, but the way you took me through so many different aspects of the different types of products that you are creating is absolutely fascinating. Thank you for speaking to me, and all the very best to you.
Thanks a lot, Ashutosh. It was nice seeing you and probably giving my 2 cents here.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.